God doesn't exist. Stop living in illusions.
Illusion? No. Denying God is the biggest lie of all.
Welcome to tonight's debate. Our atheist believes in science and evidence.
Hi, I am Eric, and I am an atheist.
Our believer argues faith and reason point to divine truth.
Hi, I am Jessica, and I am a believer.
Our atheist, you've said belief in God should meet the same standards we use everywhere else. What's your opening position?
Before we start, I want to be clear. I'm not here to offend anyone. I'm here to ask whether belief in God is justified by evidence, the same kind of standards we use everywhere else in life. When someone claims a miracle cure, we ask for trials. When someone claims a crime, we ask for evidence. But with God, we often accept stories, feelings, and tradition. I think we should hold the biggest claims to the highest bar.
And I'm not here to shut down science or reason. I believe both point beyond themselves. Science explains the how, equations, mechanisms, patterns. But there's a deeper why, a foundation, a source. For me, God isn't a gap filler. God is the ground of being, the reason there is a universe to study at all.
Ground of being sounds poetic, but poetry isn't proof. You say there's a deeper why. I hear we don't know yet. Calling that God adds a word, not an explanation. If God is beyond testing, beyond observation, beyond falsification, how do we distinguish God from imagination?
We do it the way we do many important things. We weigh cumulative clues, consciousness, morality, the fine-tuning of physical constants, the experience of billions across cultures and centuries. No one piece forces belief. Together, they form a strong, converging case.
Let's take them one by one. Fine-tuning first. Yes, the constants look delicately set, but that doesn't imply intent. We could simply be observing the only kind of universe where observers can exist. It's anthropic selection. Of course we see life-friendly numbers. We couldn't be here otherwise.
The anthropic principle says you only notice a life-permitting universe if it allows life. That's true, but thin. The question remains, why does anything exist? And why with this elegant mathematical order? The constants aren't just good enough. They're precisely balanced, permitting chemistry, stars, complexity, mind. To me, that looks like a signature, not a coincidence.
Or it looks like we're very impressed by our own survival story. Humans are pattern finders. We see intent in clouds. We see faces on Mars. When odds feel low, we assume design. But low odds events happen constantly in a vast cosmos. Winning the lottery is unlikely, yet someone wins.
If one person won once, sure. But imagine the same person winning every day for years. At some point, it's rational to suspect design. The deep structure of reality looks like that. A jackpot of parameters, stacked in our favor for life and mind. Suspicion of purpose isn't irrational. It's the simplest inference.
Simplest. Is adding an invisible, untestable mind the simplest explanation, or is it multiplying entities? God did it stops questions. Science keeps asking. And each time we've asked hard questions about lightning, disease, the Earth's motion, natural answers replaced supernatural ones.
Science replacing superstition is a win for everyone. But you're fighting yesterday's battle. Belief in God today isn't about hiding thunderbolts in clouds. It's about the intelligibility of the universe itself. That math maps to reality, that reason works, that beauty is woven into the fabric of things. Why should a mindless universe be so mind-friendly?
Because minds evolved inside this universe to model it. We're good at the parts that helped us survive. We fail constantly elsewhere. Optical illusions, cognitive biases, superstition. Our fit with math might say more about human brains than cosmic purpose.
And yet, math reaches far beyond survival. To black holes, quantum fields, symmetries no caveman needed to hunt or gather. We discovered truths written into the world long before anyone imagined them. That resonance between human reason and cosmic order, it feels like a conversation, not an accident.
Feels like is doing a lot of work. Let's move to consciousness. You say it points beyond matter. I say the brain is staggeringly complex. Subjective experience emerges from it. We can change personality, memory, even moral impulse by changing the brain. Damage the brain, consciousness changes. That's a material dependency, not a window to the divine.
Dependence doesn't equal identity. Software depends on hardware without being the same as hardware. What's unexplained isn't the functions, it's the feel, the what it's like to be you. You can measure neural firings forever and never detect a color as it's experienced, or the ache of grief, the taste of hope. That irreducible interiority suggests more than physics.
Or it suggests physics we don't yet understand. History warns us against turning mystery into metaphysics. Unexplained today often becomes explained tomorrow. AI is already mimicking aspects of reasoning and language with no soul. Maybe experience is what complex information processing feels like from the inside.
Mimicking is not the same as being. A chatbot can say, "I feel sad," but there's no inner life to feel anything. We can't pretend simulation equals consciousness. If experience is real, and it is, then reality isn't just equations and particles. It includes mind, value, meaning, which fit better in a theistic frame.
Let's test fit. If God grounds value, why such horrific suffering? Children with bone cancer, earthquakes flattening cities, predators tearing prey alive for millions of years before humans ever prayed. A loving, all-powerful God could have made a world with free will and fewer horrors. Why didn't he?
First, we should never make suffering abstract. It deserves reverence. I don't claim to have a neat answer, but I see threads. Love requires freedom. Courage requires danger. Compassion requires need. A world without risk would be a world without depth.
That doesn't cover childhood cancers or tsunamis. No one chooses those. If God is the engineer, he could have tuned the system to avoid pointless agony. Unless he couldn't, which contradicts omnipotence, or he wouldn't, which contradicts love.
Or our vantage is too small. A surgeon causes pain to heal a deeper wound. The child can't grasp the purpose. What if God, seeing the whole, permits what he can also redeem, not trivializing pain, but weaving it toward a greater good? This isn't mystery to dodge logic. It's humility about the scale we're talking about.
Humility can become a shield for anything. If God has reasons can justify any horror, the claim loses content. Meanwhile, humans reduce suffering through vaccines, engineering, law. We act, the world improves. That looks less like divine design and more like human responsibility.
It looks like partnership. If we're made in God's image, then medicine, justice, creativity are ways we join his healing work. Faith isn't passivity, It's fuel for courage when the night is long.
Let's talk morality. You say God grounds objective right and wrong. But the Euthyphro dilemma remains. Is something good because God commands it, or does God command it because it's good? If the first, morality is arbitrary. If the second, goodness exists independent of God.
There's a third way. Goodness isn't external to God or arbitrarily chosen by him. Goodness is grounded in God's nature, perfect love, perfect justice. Commands flow from who he is, not might makes right, but right rooted in unchanging character.
You've defined God as goodness and then concluded God grounds goodness. That's elegant and circular. We can ground morality in human flourishing instead. Suffering is real. Well-being is measurable. Build ethics there. No metaphysics needed.
Flourishing sounds noble until culture redefines it. Without a higher anchor, societies can call evil good and march confidently into atrocities. Human history proves we're brilliant at self-justification.
Appealing to something above us is precisely how we critique our own blind spots.
Religion hasn't exactly prevented atrocities. Crusades, inquisitions, witch trials, all done under banners of God. If invoking God keeps us honest, it didn't work very well.
Abuse doesn't negate use. The existence of counterfeit money doesn't mean currency is a bad idea. For every evil done in religion's name, countless acts of mercy were birthed by faith. Hospitals, abolition, civil rights, sacrificial service no one writes headlines about. The question is not, have believers failed? They have. The question is, what truth empowered the ones who didn't fail?
Let's test another claim. Miracles. Anecdotes are plentiful. Robust evidence isn't. Healing stories vanish under controlled conditions. Religious experiences contradict each other across cultures. If God wants to be known, why hide behind ambiguity?
2 thoughts. First, ambiguity preserves freedom. If God were as undeniable as gravity, a yes to him would be compulsion, not love. Second, not all evidence is lab eligible. History is evidence. Testimony is evidence. Not perfect, but neither are juries, yet we trust them with lives.
Historical claims for the divine rest on documents written decades later by believers. That's not the standard we accept anywhere else for extraordinary events. If a friend said a man rose from the dead last week, I wouldn't say, great, where's his biography written 30 years later? I'd ask for video, medical records, present witnesses.
You're applying 21st century forensic expectations to ancient history. We weigh what we have, not what we wish we had. And what we have is a movement exploding out of fear into courage, with former skeptics claiming encounters they were willing to die for. Not proof beyond doubt, but evidence beyond indifference.
People die for false beliefs all the time. Conviction isn't confirmation. Sincerity can be mistaken. Mass movements are not miracles, they're sociology.
And yet your standard keeps moving. When testimony is offered, you say, show me lab data. When personal experience is offered, you say, show me history. When history is offered, you say, show me video. If a God wanted love, not coerced compliance, what level of evidence would be enough without erasing freedom?
If God values freedom that much, he could still prevent the worst horrors without forcing belief. He could stop a bullet, cure a child quietly, end a war with a storm. That would neither coerce love nor tolerate evil.
Sometimes he does. We just call those luck, remission, weather. Other times he doesn't, and I don't know why. But I've seen enough light to trust him in the dark. Faith isn't certainty, it's allegiance.
Allegiance to what you hope is true. I prefer to reserve allegiance for what I know is true. When we don't know, we say, I don't know, and keep searching.
And I respect that hunger for truth. But we all live by more than what we can prove. Love, trust, meaning, we risk ourselves before we have certainty. Faith is risk in the direction of goodness.
Let's talk hiddenness. Millions beg for a sign and get silence. If God wants relationship, why the cosmic quiet?
Sometimes the quiet is where we become honest. Noise can drown out truth as easily as silence can. I won't pretend every prayer gets a voice from heaven. But I will say, many who seek with humility do find. Not always a thunderbolt, sometimes a presence, a turning, a peace that doesn't fit the circumstances.
Subjective. A Buddhist finds peace through meditation, a Muslim through prayer, a secular person through nature or therapy. If every path yields presence, that tells me the brain is good at generating comfort, not that any one theology is true.
Or it tells you God is kinder than our labels, meeting people where they are. Truth is not less true because mercy is wide. And difference doesn't mean contradiction on every point. People see the same mountain from different sides. The mountain remains.
Appealing metaphor. But religions make incompatible claims. If one is true in detail, others are wrong in detail. Many paths to the mountain avoids the hard edges of doctrine.
Yes, claims conflict, but that doesn't force atheism. It forces discernment. We weigh fruits, coherence, transformation. And for me, the story of a God who becomes love in flesh, suffers with us, and defeats death is not only beautiful, it rings true of the world and the heart.
Beauty isn't a truth detector. Tragic myths are beautiful too. I want a method that works regardless of what I'm hoping for. Testable predictions, independent verification, consistency.
That method is perfect for chemistry, less perfect for covenant. You don't run double-blind trials on friendship. You enter it, risk, and learn the truth from the inside. Faith isn't an experiment you watch. It's a relationship you live.
And relationships can fool us. Charisma, community, music, they can produce certainty where there is none. That's why I keep one foot on the ground of skepticism. It hurts less when illusions fall.
Skepticism protects, but it can also starve. If you never commit to anything you can't guarantee, you never love deeply, never risk greatly, never hope boldly. The best things in life require trust before proof.
Trust with guardrails. We trust pilots because training and physics back them. We trust surgeons because data backs them. With God, the guardrails feel like stories.
Not just stories, saints who bled for justice, communities that outlast empires, addicts set free, enemies reconciled, ordinary people doing impossible forgiveness. Perfect? No, but a light bright enough to see by.
Let me grant this. Faith can make people brave and kind. So can humanism. The question remains, is God true or simply useful?
Truth and goodness aren't enemies. If a worldview consistently births love, hope, courage, that's a sign. Not final proof, but a sign that it's aligned with reality. And when I pray, when I forgive, when I fail and find mercy, I'm not using an idea. I'm meeting a presence.
I don't doubt your sincerity. I question the interpretation. Brains are meaning-making machines. We can generate presence, assign it names, and feel certain, and be wrong.
We can be wrong, which is why faith should be humble, accountable, and open to reason. But humility isn't the same as silence. I've seen too much goodness, too many coincidences, too much beauty that heals rather than flatters, to chalk it all up to neurons.
Let's end with purpose. You believe God gives you a calling, a destiny that survives death. I believe purpose is chosen, crafted from love, curiosity, and work, and that mortality gives it urgency. We're candles. We burn. We warm the room.
then we're gone. That's enough for me.
And for me, we're candles lit by a sun we didn't create. The flame matters now, and it's not the end. Justice will be finished. Love will not be wasted. Tears will not be the final truth.
If that's true, it's the most beautiful truth imaginable. But the more beautiful the claim, the more carefully we should test it.
Test it the way you test a bridge. Walk across. Risk a prayer you mean. Give forgiveness that costs you. Stand with the suffering when no one's watching. If nothing is there, you'll become a better human anyway. If God is there, you'll know.
And if I try and feel nothing?
Then I'll sit with you in the silence. No pressure, no tricks. Just two humans refusing to give up on truth and on each other.
That I can respect. I still don't believe, but I'll admit this conversation moved me. You haven't given me certainty, but you've given me a question worth keeping.
And I've given you a reminder that faith without honesty is fragile. Thank you for the honesty.
Thank you for the courage.
Maybe that's our starting place. Truth and courage. And maybe God meets people right there.
Maybe. I'll think about it.
And I'll pray for truth wherever it leads.
One last thought on consciousness, since you challenged me there. If consciousness is just neurons, then our reasoning is just chemical inevitability. But we trust reason because it tracks truth. The theistic view explains that fit. A rational universe made by a rational mind mirrored in ours. That's not proof, but it's a powerful harmony.
Or evolution favored brains that could model reality well enough to survive. Truth wasn't the goal. Survival was. Truth is a fortunate byproduct. Again, no God required.
Survival doesn't explain why abstract math, discovered on chalkboards, predicts particles no one has ever seen. And then we build machines and find them. That's more than luck. It's resonance.
Or it's selection bias. We celebrate the hits and forget the misses. Still, I agree the resonance is striking. Striking isn't the same as supernatural.
No, but it is suggestive. And a world whispering meaning is, to me, a world where a voice can be found.
If there's a voice, it should withstand questions.
It does, and it welcomes yours.
Then let the questions continue.
I'll mend to that. And Eric, if the audience cares about who wins, I'm less interested in winning an argument than in winning people toward hope. If God exists, no honest question offends him. And if he doesn't, honest questions will still make us better neighbors.
On that, we agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Closing the votes are in, and by the narrowest of margins, our audience has declared the believer the winner of tonight's debate. Her combination of philosophical sophistication and personal testimony proved just compelling enough to tip the scales. But perhaps the real victory belongs to both participants for demonstrating that faith and reason can engage in honest dialogue. Thank you for this remarkable exchange. Keep questioning, keep seeking truth.